Just like a meat. Saw your name, I said, and then see.
Yeah. That's good. I bet you.
Someone like that one, around like there's another one called the Line. It's like wait for me. My pants is really my leader.
I know what you're talking about. You're just like yes.
And knowing exactly. I'll respond her. I've been on. I told her that. Okay. I know word. I go back.
Like the first like very funny.
You just right about what? It wasn't that big, but for bother you. This is yeah. Whatever that road.
Jared running stuff most of the car. Madison County trying to be a sheriff and not a bill. They don't mention that.
He's saying, okay. It's wonderful. Yeah, but I do. My favorite authors do love classes. Yeah, my timeline goes down. Yeah, this is us.
But why, you know, I mean, they are
like 35.
Sorry.
Moderator here. You had real long hair.
I didn't have it. You don't get to come out.
Nice meeting you.
No, you're good. Give up this one if I need.
More falling down.
I was.
Yeah.
I've done that, yeah. Oh, baby, yeah.
Well, they forget it.
Yeah, whatever.
Good morning. Welcome to the 4th Annual Active Minds Mental Health Summit. We are so delighted that you have decided to join us this morning. And those of you that may not know me, I am Dr. Broughton. I am the advisor of Active Minds, and I'm also the director of student wellness and accessibility here at Athens State. And once again, I welcome you to our Mental Health Summit. This morning, we have a panel discussion that will be held here in the ballroom. And then we will have a break in between for you to go out and actually walk around with the vendors. And then after that, you will head over to the classroom building and we'll be available. Active Minds members will be available to assist you and direct you to the classroom buildings. And you can go to the session of your choice for the breakout sessions. We would like to start off this morning with a welcome from our president, Dr. Welberg.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Athens State University. And thank you, Dr. Broughton. This is always such an amazing event, and it's so good to see everybody here today. As many of you know, Athens State University is over 200 years old, and we've been educating students for a long time. And I will say we're pretty good at it at this point. And so we are so glad to have all of you here and doing this important work and having these difficult conversations. You all know as well as I do, or better, the issues that we are seeing with mental health in our communities, with our students, with our community members, with children, with elderly, you name it. We're seeing that increase more and more. And we're seeing that separation that happens and the loneliness and the lack of belonging that impacts on mental health and preparation for doing the work of life. So I commend all of you for being here today, and thank you to our amazing panelists. I know that this is going to be eye-opening and enriching, and we hope to see you back on campus anytime you'd like. We have a beautiful walking trail that is something that is very good for your soul, just to go out and walk in nature as the weather gets a little bit nicer for that. But welcome, so glad to have you all here. I know it's going to be a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Welberg, for your welcome. Now we will have Amy Garrison, the Dean of Students, and she will just basically give opening remarks.
Morning. So I've been thinking about this question and I thought I would ask you all. What if our real strength isn't measured with our titles, our grades, or our accomplishments, but by the courage to ask if we need help or to ask someone else, can I help you? So I wanted to welcome you again to Athens State University for Active Minds, their 4th annual mental health summit that grows each year. We are so honored to have you all here to share with us and to connect. So the idea that I shared is sort of a challenge based on what we're taught and sometimes even what we teach here. Because we feel pressure to achieve, all of us. We carry responsibility for others. We caretake. We suffer with stress and trauma and burnout. And instead today, we're choosing to connect and meet other people and to listen and learn and to care. And I appreciate you all showing up for yourselves and for each other. That's what we want to do today. That's what we're here to do. So I want to do a quick audience check. If it's your first time here, raise your hand. Awesome. That's wonderful. Welcome. And if you've been to the summit in a previous year, raise your hand. That's amazing. If you've been here every year, raise your hand. Excellent. Excellent. See, they come back. That's wonderful. So by being in this room, it's a choice, and we appreciate that you made that choice today. So I do want to recognize our wonderful organization that put this together and their fabulous advisors. I don't know if we'll get another chance to do that today, but Carolyn Carthen and Dr. Broaden, thank you all for your heart for this, mental health all the time, all year round, as evidenced in all of the photos and the work that they do, and all of the students. So I don't know if you'll get a chance, but will you guys raise your hands as well that work with this organization? Thank you guys. And congratulations on all your awards this past year. I know awards aren't everything, as I just mentioned, but it is a symbol of the commitment you've made to this. So we appreciate you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Amy, for those wonderful opening remarks. Now we will have, it's been a change in the program. We will have introduction of our special guest by Carolyn Carthen. She will introduce our moderator. Thank you.
Good morning again. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator. We met her at the Mental Health Conference last year in Washington, D.C., and she is an awesome advocate for mental health. It was great to connect with her, and at this time, I will introduce Nicole Russell. Nicole Russell is a mental health advocate, speaker, and graduate social work student dedicated to breaking stigma and making wellness accessible for first generation and immigrant communities. Born in Jamaica and raised in New York, her lived experience navigating 2 cultures informs her approach to open dialogue, peer support, and culturally responsive care. Nicole serves on the Active Minds Alumni Board and has facilitated cultural wellness and mindfulness-based spaces, including yoga programming in partnership with Exhale to Inhale. Her work has been recognized through the Cultivating Connections Award at the Active Minds Mental Health Conference. Through storytelling, advocacy, and community-centered practice, she is committed to helping individuals feel seen, supported, and empowered in their mental health journeys. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Russell.
Thank you, Miss Carolyn. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing? Good? Good.
Good.
First, I want to thank God for being here. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. This is rare, guys, so I'm super grateful. Thank you, Dr. Broaden and Athens State University. I want to thank you all for being here and and for being willing to engage in an important and often personal conversation. This year's theme is All Things Mental Health, Embracing Everyday Wellness Through Open Dialogue. That phrase is intentional. Mental health is not just about crisis moments or diagnosis. It's about how we show up daily, how we support one another, and how safe we make it to speak openly about our struggles and our strengths. Today's panel brings together educators, mental health advocates, and mental health court judge, offering perspectives from education, community advocacy, and justice system. While their roles may differ, they are united by one common goal, which is supporting people as whole human beings. As we move through this discussion, I invite everyone, panelists, audience alike, to listen with openness, empathy, and curiosity. This is a judgment-free space, and our goal is not perfection. It's about understanding. So with that being said, before we go in, I would like my beautiful panelists to introduce themselves. You guys have your mics? Good. We'll start from here and go all the way down.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Yes. And I too would like to thank Dr. Brodden, as well as the president of Athens University, for having me at this momentous occasion to recognize the work of, or the very important work that we all do on behalf of those that suffer with mental health and with mental illness. I am Judge Sybil Cleveland-Pennywell, and I am a municipal court judge in the city of Huntsville. I have had the distinct honor since 2004 to run Alabama's first municipal mental health court. That program is not a program that exists simply because of me. It exists solely because of the love of our community, the Huntsville-Madison County community, and our collaborators made up of courts, legislators, agencies, and those individuals who also share the same interest in ensuring that our mental health community is given the support and services that they deserve. But in the course of running the mental health program over, what is it now, almost 22 years for the court system, I think it has become a program that we absolutely know that we could not live without at this point. So many people who have suffered with mental health illnesses have found themselves in our criminal justice system, and our program hopefully provides that type of response and type of resources to enable them to get back on track with life and move on to a more stable, productive life for themselves. So that is just me in a nutshell. But I am happy to participate in this panel or on this panel with these esteemed individuals here. So I'm going to turn it over to our next panelist.
Good morning. I too would like to thank Athens State and the team for having me here. A special thanks to Miss Elizabeth Bowden. My name is Tammy Leath. In the program, it may say Tamir, but usually people call me Tammy. I'm a clinician. Actually, I'm the director of mental health programs in the office of Frank Barger in Madison County, by way of being a clinician, a mental health clinician for over 25 years. So my specialty is co-occurring and dealing with individuals usually that are in crisis. Again, I'm happy to be here and happy to be a part of this panel.
I'm Dr. Lori Price, and I'm on psychology faculty here at Athens State University. And I'm so glad to be here, so glad to know that an organization like this exists. And I thank Dr. Broaden for inviting me to be a panelist here. In my previous life before higher education, I was actually a school counselor for 15 years, and I worked in public and private schools in Tennessee and Georgia.
My name is Loami Richardson. I'm the RPED coordinator for Rural Student Success here at Athens State University. I'm humbled and grateful to be a part of this panel, especially as someone who is a huge advocate for mental health, especially as a millennial, those transitions of career and life. And so I'm just happy to be here and to be able to share some of my insight and intel.
Thank you. Thank you, God. Are you guys hearing me? Thank you guys for introducing yourself. I do appreciate that, and thank you for taking the time for being here. With that being said, we'll go straight into it. So the first question I have for everyone here, when you hear the phrase everyday mental wellness, what does that mean to you in your role, and why is open dialogue so critical to achieving it? We could start with you, Mr. Richardson.
For me, it's mind, body, and soul, right? Those are the three major elements that allow us to be our full selves. If we are not in tune with what's going on with ourselves, then it's going to be very hard to be able to understand what other people are going through. So one thing that I've learned in my experience, especially things that are outside of my control situations, whether it be loss of a loved one, whether it be, job, career transitions, is how do I internalize what am I feeling and being honest with what I'm experiencing. And it's very rare that you find people admitting or at least being honest with what they're experiencing. And so I always advocate that you don't have to share everything with everyone because not everyone's going to understand, but to find that safe place or that safe person to be able to share the things that you're going through. Because just being able to release those things is a huge step in that process of really understanding where you're at and where you want to be.
I would piggyback off of what he's
Sure, go
saying,
ahead.
to be able to recognize that you are burnt out or need a day. There's nothing wrong with having a mental health day. We sometimes take sick days, vacation days, but we also at times need a mental health day. And that could consist of you just treating yourself to a spa or just recognizing whatever you need to make you be better to help somebody. Because if you're not able to be there for yourself, how can you be there for others?
Right. So I would certainly agree with our experts here. I always defer to them in terms of the clinical context of mental health. But from a judicial role, I think your phraseology was everyday mental health. What I think about and what that causes me to think about, I realized early on when I first started our mental health court that every day that I walked into that courtroom, there is a possibility that I'm going to have an individual or individuals or families in need of my full attention and my full understanding, my full engagement, and the way that I engage with them has always been very important to me because I wanted and have always tried to make sure that I help to reduce the level of stress, the level of embarrassment. It's so difficult sometimes to discuss mental health issues, let alone in a courtroom environment. So I always, kind of say a little prayer that when I walk into that courtroom, that God will give me the words, give me the heart, give me the understanding, open my eyes to be able to be there for its people. And so when you say that, when I heard you say that, I was like, that truly does, that defines kind of my mindset as I walk into the courtroom.
Thank you. You go ahead.
I don't think any one of us wakes up every single morning just raring to go and, 100% into the day, and I think part of everyday mental wellness is having the coping skills to be able to deal with just everyday life, the hassles. We're not facing crises every day, but if we have those coping mechanisms and we have a support system that's there to help us get through the day, I think that is everyday wellness to me.
Thank you guys for sharing it from your different perspectives. I appreciate it. My next question is, why do you think mental health conversations are still stigmatized, even in spaces that claim to support mental health? What helps break that silence?
Shame,
Definitely.
admitting
Pride.
things. So for me in my journey, especially understanding things from my past, right? There's a lot of things, experiences that I've gone through, that my parents gone through, that their great-grandparents gone through. And so once you discover that certain things, right, things that you learn, things that you experience shaped the way that you view life, love, whatever it may be, to go back now and to change the narrative or to try to now communicate something that may tarnish a view of a loved one or somebody like that. I realize, especially in church spaces, homes, that we advocate faith, but then when it gets down to the root cause of why you're feeling this way or why you're experiencing this or why you may think a certain way, admitting that they were wronged or admitting that something wasn't right connects to their identity. And so a lot of the time I've realized is when you start hinting around the area that hurts the most is where they usually hide the most. And you cannot heal what you're not willing to reveal, right? And so I think that's what has happened countless times, at least in my personal experience, even with friends and family, where we're having a conversation about family history or whatever, and then all of a sudden something comes up and you realize the tone of the conversation changed, bodies get a little uncomfortable. And I realize a lot of that has to do with shame. A lot of that has to do with guilt. They haven't rectified that situation. And why would I want to deal with something in the past? It's in the past. But those things in the past is what shaped us today. And so I've learned that, especially in the faith space, right, that a lot of people will proclaim something that they themselves have not fully rectified. And I think that's usually the core issue, is a lot of shame and guilt. And if I have to deal with that, then something about me changes. And so this is why it's so in tune to understand who you are, what your identity is, what your purpose is aligned, because those experiences that you have experienced in the past shaped you, but it's molded you into becoming the version that, I believe in God, so right, that God has propelled you to become. So I've noticed that is the number one thing. If I have to deal with that, then that means the view of myself changes, or the history that I've created in the past changes. And a lot of that has to deal with a lot of shame and guilt. And we don't have the space to be able to give people grace, to be able to share, to be empathetic and sympathetic towards the situation, because if you haven't gone through it, then you're not going to be, oh, well, I'll pray about it, right? Kind of dismiss it rather than dealing with the actual cause.
Thank you. Self-awareness is a factor.
I think though, the more that we engage in that open dialogue that we've been talking about, the more that help seeking is normalized in our communities. I think the easier it is for us to seek help. And that is sometimes we wait on others to model that for us. And I think all of us in this room can be models for other people to actually, if you're going through a rough time, you don't have to deal with it by yourself. Yes. There are people here that, their life's work is to help you. And that's what our sense of purpose is.
Thank you so much.
And if I may add, both panelists have really addressed the issue, but I would also add, there's just a general denial. Let's just be real. There's just a general denial that people have about facing the fact that they are dealing with a diagnosis. With that denial comes the lack of follow-up with treatment, follow-up with doing those things that is going to add that stability in their lives, coupled with the fact that society stigmatizes us and those of us that deal with mental health issues. So again, these types of events and these types of self-awareness and making the conversation a normalized conversation are things that help to kind of dispel and to break down those barriers. But I certainly believe that denial is a huge issue and a huge barrier to getting help.
Thank you. I agree with everyone's perspective. Thank you. Next question. What gaps do you see in mental health access or support within our communities? And how can advocacy help close those gaps?
The gaps that I see in the role that I serve in is education. A lot of people don't know about services that are available for them. The other thing I see when they are aware of the services is more group homes, more beds. They do not have the financial money to pay for the medications because it's extremely high, and also denial. There are, but the number one gap I would say is the awareness of the services that are out there.
Thank you. Anyone would like to contribute to that question or?
Well, for me, it's before I even understood that there were services and programs available, I didn't know where to even begin reading on a lot of these issues, right? Okay, I'm going through something. What do you suggest that I read? Obviously they say scripture and, but for me, there were certain books that helped me open up my eyes to certain things that I didn't realize about myself. And then seeing the programs that are available. So a lot of it is, the programs that are available in the communities usually help with the external factors, housing and job security, but just having space of family loss, right? Trauma, relationships, those type of things are, at least for me, advocating books that will be helpful, or podcasts or YouTube videos that would help people at least open up their minds to understanding those things that I see is a lack. They always promote programs on, at least as far as resources go. It was a hard find for me, right? And then it was, once I got into that space, that other people recommend other things that allow me to grow my knowledge and understanding the importance of mental advocacy.
Great, thank you. I have a specific question for Judge Cleveland. What does how does mental health court differ from traditional court systems? And what roles does compassion play alongside accountability?
Sure, yes. So when you think of traditional court, I run a criminal court. We have with us here from Madison County today, our probate judge, Judge Frank Barger, who handles our mental health commitments and a lot of issues that stem from the civil side of mental health. But my court is a court of criminal jurisdiction, and not really sure how much you all know about the criminal justice system, but when we started our mental health court, now decades ago, Tammy, it was 2004, but it's been a while, at least over 20 years ago. But when we started our program, statistically, we found that as much as 70% of our inmate population dealt with issues concerning mental health. So there was no doubt that the traditional court processes was not an adequate response to address those numbers. What are you looking at in a traditional court system in terms of punishment, where you're looking at usually probation, Probation is usually kind of cookie cutter, where everyone is kind of placed on probation and given conditions. Conditions may be to attend some generalized program, not necessarily specifically mental health tailored for individuals, or jail time. Jail time was or is always an option in traditional sentencing. And then back before we started mental health court, we had some diversion type programs for low-level offenses, but nothing that was intense and tailored to address individuals with mental health issues. So you've got your traditional side versus the treatment side, of which mental health court falls into the category of specialty courts, sometimes called problem-solving courts, because what courts do is that the courts, with the approval of the prosecutorial team, the court set aside the prosecution of that individual, and that individual is allowed to participate in the mental health court program and address those unique treatment needs to address their underlying offending issues. And with that comes intense case management through mental health services. So you see the courts working hand in hand with mental health services, and you have court oversight to kind of give it that judicial oversight and that reinforcement and accountability to ensure that the individual is adhering to that treatment. So basically what a mental health court docket looks like is my mental health court docket has individuals on it that are diagnosed with an Axis 1 diagnosis. That diagnosis is confirmed by a mental health professional. Our community mental health provider is Wellstone, and Wellstone provides probably services for about 90% of our participants. Wellstone, they send a treatment team to my mental health court. Previously, this beautiful lady here was a part of our first treatment team, and her guidance and the procedure that she laid out as our first treatment team lead has helped to train numerous teams since her departure. So she just sits here looking beautiful, but I can tell you her tentacles run deep in Huntsville, Madison County. If I were running a traditional court, Madam Moderator, I would not know this woman. I would not. She would exist in her vacuum. I would exist in my judicial vacuum, and our mental health community would go unaddressed in the judicial system. Since the inception of our treatment court, our mental health court has expanded in Madison County. I now run a veterans court. I run a court called jail diversion, which now I am allowed to divert people out of our jails who are doing time. I divert them, meaning I release them into the community, back into their home environment, and I oversee any and all types of treatment and services and resources that they are engaging in order to get back on their feet. And I also recently started another program for our homeless and our unhoused community that also addresses mental health issues. So
Yes, round of applause. Superwoman.
super community, because it's definitely something that only happens because of our collaboration. So as you can see, it's a big difference. You've got jail, probation, not a lot happens after that. Sometimes it's corrective in nature, but a lot of times it just doesn't do enough to address the underlying issues. Then you've got treatment court and specialty courts. There's hope there. And when there's hope, y'all, we have everything when we have hope, right?
So Judge Cleveland spoke about the criminal side and diversion programs and alternatives for individuals with mental illness. On the civil side, under Judge Barger, who's here today, we have assisted outpatient treatment. Now, how many of y'all have heard of involuntary commitments? Okay, and so with involuntary commitments, usually they go get stabilized and they're released. Well, now underneath the civil side, under involuntary commitments, we have assistive outpatient treatment. And this goes back to what I was saying about education. Many families don't know that there's an assistive outpatient treatment program in Madison County, but there is. And it's again for the civil side, and it runs similar to the criminal side. And what they do, you have intense case management. They help the individual find a job. They help them if they want to get back in school. They help them with housing, and it runs exactly the same, but it's just on the civil side. So awareness is very important for our community. But yes, we do have assisted outpatient treatment. A lot of family members don't know what to do when they're faced with someone that's in a crisis. It's good and that a lot of people do not know what involuntary commitment is. That means that you never had a crisis, so to speak, or if you did, you didn't know what to do. But we have commitments done when a person is a danger to themselves or others. And so for that continuum, they stabilize them anywhere from 30 to 45 days. But after that, you have a case manager to follow them for up to 150 days, and that can be extended to 365. So I just wanted to make you all aware of other alternatives as well.
Thank you. This is my last question for all of you guys. What is one message or takeaway you want attendees to leave with today regarding mental health and everyday wellness?
It's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
If you don't know, if you don't know and have questions about individuals who are suffering or that has a mental illness, ask someone. It's okay to ask if you don't know.
Yeah.
I would say your mental health diagnosis doesn't define who you are. How you deal with it does.
And I would say there's a difference between thinking what's wrong with you and what happened to you. What's wrong with you versus what happened to you. And that's just giving people grace, you know, understanding that they might be going through a rough time and they may be externalizing some of that, you know, stress, anger, depression that they're feeling, and just, you know, be kind to one another.
Thank you guys for sharing your perspectives and showing up today. I do appreciate your presence here. We're breaking barriers and stigmas together. So give yourself a round of applause. Okay. Does anyone have any question in the audience? Okay.
I can be loud. My voice projects. I'm curious about the services that you all were discussing. How is that funded? Where does funding for that come from?
I think that is for me. Yeah, that is always the question about our treatment programs. What about your grants? Where does all that come from? Huntsville and Madison County are uniquely situated. I found that out. I served as president of the Alabama Municipal Judges Association, and a part of my platform as president for 2 years was to enable other municipal courts in the state to start their own mental health court. And fortunately, we were able to help several communities start theirs. But one of the biggest issues for those communities was the funding for the program. I told you earlier when I described how we came together as a community, we literally came together as a community with a task force made up of stakeholders across the spectrum, from our state legislators, our local legislators and executives, our hospitals, our courts on all levels, from municipal, district, and circuit, our mental health services, agencies, and nonprofits who even remotely were interested in mental health and the criminal justice response. And because of that, our local legislators, our city council and our mayor then was Loretta Spencer, I believe, and then our city council, they committed to give a sizable contribution to, then it was the Madison County Mental Health Center, a sizable contribution or increase in their funding. Our legislators now, our local legislators, designate close to $1 million a year that goes directly to our main provider and to some of our other service providers. They are also funded in some way. So I was always afraid that if we went after federal grants, well, we all know what happens sometimes when you go after federal grants and your program exists only on federal grants. Sometimes, depending on the power structure, you may lose those grants. So our local community and our local legislators are the ones who really have committed to ensure that our treatment sources are funded so that we are able to have those treatment teams in court and to have that treatment team oversight. So I do realize that is unique, because when I worked with some of our other communities and they were like, so how did you get the money? Where did this come from? And I told them that, they were like, oh, that's going to be hard. You know, it's going to be very difficult. But I think for some have been able to convince their local leaders that this is a great investment in their community. So we have that. And then with our unhoused program, we recently won a $2.5 million grant. And this beautiful lady is our program manager for our unhoused program. I mean, she wears so many hats. I cannot tell you the value of having a Tammy Leath in your community. I know everybody can't have a Tammy Leath, but we are blessed to have a Tammy Leath. And she's my little sister, but she is my sister in our community. And so here's some of how it happens right here to my left.
For assistive outpatient treatment, I will say we are now under a federal grant, but prior to the grant, in the probate office, Judge Barger we have passport funds, and so we were funded through the passport funds for that intense case management. And shortly thereafter, we did get approved for a grant.
Thank you.
Dr. Broughton, first of all, thank you for creating this space for everybody to come together to be informed and have this opportunity to personally speak with professionals that's able to make this awareness. So thank you very much. And the team and the Active Mind student group, thank you so much for having this. My question is, and you spoke a little bit about awareness, and before I even ask about that, I do want to agree that the programs in our community, I do live in the Huntsville, Madison County community, are outstanding. And I have had, and I'm just going to say, the privilege to see these two phenomenal women that are here. You guys are phenomenal too, but I've had the privilege to see your work in action. And I just want to personally thank you for all that you do. You are amazing, outstanding, incredible, beyond my words can even begin to go on and on and on. But not everybody is aware. So if somebody is having a crisis, right? My question to you is, how are we getting the word out? How are we getting the information out to individuals? I know we have spaces like this, but not everybody comes to this, right? So how are we getting that information out to someone who has never experienced mental health crisis
in some serious capacities. Can you speak to that, please?
So I will say that many times since in the probate office, we will get calls and we will educate individuals, but it goes back, not everyone knows to call the probate office. Most people and the stakeholders, we work closely with Wellstone. And so some people do know to call Wellstone and they will educate them on the services that are out there. And myself or Judge Cleveland would further educate. I do know that there are health fairs that are done. But as far as that, there's not a whole lot of getting the word out. It's not like we're on TV broadcasting. Some of it, a lot of it is word of mouth as well.
So what I'm doing now, being here, accepting the invitation to be a part of this panel, well, I accept invitations from various organizations all the time because that is my opportunity to get off the bench, get in the community, and to educate from that perspective. Of course, as a judge, I'm limited in what I can and what I can't do in certain aspects. But anytime I'm called upon to be a speaker or to be a part of programs like this that get the word out, so to speak, I try to avail myself. One of the first things when we started our program, one of the first things that we realized is that we needed to educate. We needed to educate our defense bar. We needed to educate our law enforcement. We needed to educate our community and our churches. And so I've spoken to those organizations, all types of organizations over the years, and still continue to do so to ensure that people are aware of what our court system is doing.
Thank you. We have one back here. Go ahead.
Like everyone else, I just wanted to thank you guys for being here. Especially with mental health, it can affect every aspect of your life. I have epilepsy, and it's not triggered by lights or anything like that. It's triggered by stress. And I have had, seizures here at work, at home, just in any part that can be a stressful aspect. But my question is for you guys, if someone is feeling burned out and a lot of guilt or shame where they are in life, how do you reconnect with purpose without making it just another thing to be productive at?
Burnt out in life, therapy, I would recommend.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues with shame is that we keep it in. Shame is like putting yourself in a dark room and hoping that light will enter in, right? So one of the first things you have to do is put light to that shame. And so often shame, we don't like to address it because we allowed that thing, that situation, whatever it may be, to become who we are. And I've noticed that 95% of people avoid the thing that they hate doing, which is, or admitting that there's something going on, right? So pain is the one thing that people avoid, right? When you go to the gym, oh, it's fun when you're, doing light reps until you get a trainer and it's like, you got to go a little heavier, right? The pain is what makes you feel uncomfortable. And we have to come to a point, especially for me in aspects of life, I had to be uncomfortable or being comfortable with being uncomfortable and shedding light and saying, you know what, I'm not okay. You know what, the thing that I'm experiencing or I'm going through doesn't define me, but we're going to get to the root cause of why I'm experiencing this. But you have to shed light to it. So whether it be therapy, I tell people therapist is like a coach. You want to get some intel that you probably wouldn't be able to discover for yourself, and they don't diagnose you to tell you what you need to do, but it's always a great place to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm processing, and they can give you feedback. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, the number one thing I always suggest and recommend people to do is to journal, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, and you'll be amazed to see what you're writing, words that are constantly popping up or feelings that's constantly popping up. And then you want to take that and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? Why is this certain word continue to pop up? And then you get to that root cause. Because once you get to the root cause, then everything else, the healing begins, and it starts from in, and then it reveals itself externally. So the shame is the thing, man. That's the tool of the enemy to make you say, oh, you feel shame? Stay there. Because if you stay there, then you'll never heal from whatever you need to heal from. You have to put light to that shame. Once you put light to it, then it's a revelation. Oh, now I understand why I'm feeling this way. Now I understand the root cause of it. And I realize that this thing doesn't define me, right? It's just the thing that I need to fix in order for me to become the version of the person that I envision myself becoming. And that's the hard part, is first admitting that there's something wrong, which that's the first step. Something's wrong. Cool, shame. A lot of people don't even acknowledge that they have shame. So my question would be then, how do you expose light to that shame and deal with it? So the number one, before you go jump into the therapist, because I've went to a couple of therapists, and after the first session, I'm like, this ain't gonna work, right? But people that you feel comfortable with sharing, and journaling would be my number two recommendations.
But you've also suggested some other great things, and that is reading, podcasts, journaling. All those things are free. It's not like you have to have insurance to go to the doctor or pay. All those things are available to you immediately. And once especially you listen to a podcast or reading a book, and so it's not just me. And the number one thing that is a lot of people seem to understand, I'm the only one going through this. There is a bunch of people who are going through the same thing you may be experiencing. I had a friend of mine who had epilepsy, but it was triggered by life. This is the first time I heard someone said it was triggered by stress. Oh, there are other people going through that same thing. Finding that community is going to be very key. And for me, when I read, going through podcasts, YouTube videos, it's a sense of relief. I am normal, right? It's not this, I'm just the only person in the world. And that's what shame does. You're the only person, no one cares. No, there are other people, and there's a vital resources. YouTube, Google it, and that will at least start the process of finding.
I think I'm next. This is wonderful. I love the panel, by the way. And so my question is, I'm here from Calhoun Community College with one of my colleagues and good friends. And my question is for obviously our students who are struggling with some mental health concerns. I had a young lady come to me probably just last week who was having a panic attack during her class. And so we took the steps to try to get her assistance. I'm curious, I know Mr. Richardson, you work with the rural population. I wonder what tools and what things are you seeing with that specific population and mental health? And for Dr. Price, I'm curious, what steps are y'all doing here for all students at Athens State?
Yes. So my anxiety and depression and everything else I experienced was when I was a teenager. So as the judge was sharing her story, I was like, man, I wish they had that when I was a younger kid, because the only two options when I got arrested as a juvenile, I was very angry. A lot of the anger stemmed from distrust from my family, from my mom and dad, right? And so here I was, luckily, I admitted that I had anger issues, hence the reason why I got into a lot of, unnecessary fights, right? So I remember staying in front of the judge, Judge Rodriguez, I'll never forget this. And because I did the advocacy of going to a counselor and talking about my issues of anger, helped me to not get jail time, and got probation instead. So, but this is 2000 and, oh Lord, I don't want to reveal my age, but yeah, 2000 something, right? But one thing that I learned with students, especially post-pandemic, is they internalize a lot and don't share a lot. Whether it be they don't have the space to do so, they haven't learned that skill, I don't know. But panic attacks, at least for your student, realizes two things, and they can advocate for this. Anxiety is worrying about things in the future, depression, things in the past. So I always try to help my students, what can you control in the present? Right? Because, if I fail this exam, and then I won't be able to graduate, and if I don't graduate, my mom's gonna be, and it's like, whoa, shh, bring it right now. What is the thing that you could do right now at this very moment? Submit that assignment. Let's do that first, right? So it's trying to control what you can control, letting go of the things that you can't control. So as someone, especially in the rural communities, man, there's not only economic stressors, there's pressure to, I'm a first generation college graduate. And now I see my great nieces and nephews entering that space of going to college. And I realize none of my family can help none of these kids, in this space. So now when I speak, now I'm like, well, what do you think? Not that they do this, right? But that's the mentality. Like, well, y'all all giving advice. None of y'all never did anything. And yet the person who did accomplish something, no one's talking to. And so for me, taking that one-on-one time with those students and connecting your story, I want to give this advice to everyone. Free game. Please do not eliminate your story from your experience. Are you following what I'm saying? A lot of reasons why students don't open up is because they feel you're not relatable. You forget that you were struggling when you was a teenager. You may not have been able to talk about it back then, but you know now, right? So as somebody who's a college, first generation college graduate, the one thing that I'm able to gain their trust with is connecting my story with theirs. May not be identical, but there's struggles that we all going through, right? Imposter syndrome. Right? I'm the only one who's not a doctor on this panel, right? Imposter syndrome. But you can't take away my experience and what I've learned and the things that allowed me to accomplish the things that I've accomplished, right? If you would have told me in high school, you'll be an international speaker, published author, master's degree graduate, I'm like, yeah, okay, where's another shot? Let me, turn up. But my experiences and the things that I've learned shape me who I am. And so if you envision your student becoming successful, then you have to connect with your story to say, listen, I overcame those barriers. I didn't have community, but you have community now. Right, here's my number, here's my email. And if you don't use it, that's on you, because now there's no excuses. So always connect your story. And one of the things that I've always connected with every student, every faculty, every advisor is when they was honest and sat down with me. I was just like you, right? Okay. Doctor such and such, you're just like me, right? But I went through the same experiences. And that's why story is so important. Do not negate your story. I'll repeat that again. Do not negate your story. You've gotten to this place for a reason. There's a journey you took. Those are the lessons that you can teach the younger generation to be able to give them the encouragement to move forward. And you'll be surprised. The ones that don't want to talk all of a sudden, can you not stop talking, right? Because they feel that there's a space now that somebody connects and understands.
As far as counseling on campus, we definitely offer counseling services, but I approach it from the perspective of someone who is, I have 2 classes actually on campus this semester. So it's been wonderful to see my students, talk with my students. And since my first semester was last semester and I was teaching all online, it's been great this semester to kind of know who my students are. But I'm from rural South Georgia. I'm a first generation college student. And despite the fact that I am decades older than my college students, I don't think I'm ever more real than I am in the classroom. And I think I teach adolescent psych on Tuesdays. Our class runs over every Tuesday because they just want to talk. They want to talk about what they went through in adolescence, and what has gotten them through that and where they are now and how they got through all of that. So, yeah, I would say the professors in the classroom are great at referring students out too. So we need to know our community resources as well.
Hello, my name is Melina Agee. I'm a school counselor. I've been a school counselor for 21 years. I've been in the system like 26 years. The issues that I am seeing now, this is on elementary level, that we are dealing with now is the anxiety, suicide. We do self all the time, self is suicide intervention. This year has been a lot of putting them in mental hospitals. So we're dealing with issues like this every single day. My question is to you is, we do have wellness. We have a noble counselor. She is awesome. We collaborate together. We're always talking. And How do I, like, when we see the issues, I think I struggle more so with the parents to get them on board, than the students. The students, they tell me what the situation is and what the issues is, but once, I feel like there's a guard up for the parents and trying to get them convinced, and then it turns around where every day I'm dealing with the same issues. And it's like in my office, they know that's a safe place. And they know, I always tell them, I can't tell no more than you allow me to tell. So I give them the control of what do you want me to tell, what do not want me to tell. But even if I can counsel them every single day and I can hear what they're saying to me, but yet and still they have to go back into the same environment, and then I'm doing it all over again. So help me with that. Can you help me with that? Go ahead,
For me,
Mr.
I
Richardson.
mean, I was just gonna say, you probably don't want what I would have to say, but if they're going into the same environment and it's toxic, I would probably have to open a DHR case. That's just me.
In some cases, I have already done that, but sometimes no offense, it doesn't help.
I believe you. I believe.
And even when we have like laid it out, because recently, I think I had an 8-page report, because I have been dealing with a student like all year long. And it had gotten so severe until we, I think we kind of like had to push the issue where wellness stepped in, the family denied. Then it happened again, then the family denied. Then at this point, we just had to call, like the ambulance, and I had to just go on with them to, and that's what I do. I follow my kids to wherever they go until I connect with the parents. And at this point, it cannot be denied because it was so severe. And so, the family finally agreed to the situation. But yet and still, I don't think they were on board, but the severity of it. And then I did do the DHR before this case came.
Number one, God bless you. Yeah, that younger generation is, but I think you dealt with the heart of the issue. Number one, the things that you're doing for your students now, do not disregard or dismiss it. This is going to be a lasting impression for them in the future, right? Where no one else advocated for them, gave them that safe place, they're going to remember you, right? When you're dealing with the parents, as someone who worked as a chaplain, said academic advisor, the reason why those parents don't want to open up is because now you're questioning my parenting. I'm now a bad parent. And if I have to deal with this, that means there's something with me that I don't want to deal with. So encouraging that student, number one, you're giving them that safe place, but is there any other family relatives that they can feel safe in communicating those issues with? And if someone, as a man of faith, right, prayer, intercessory, right, intervening in areas where you cannot intervene, but what you're doing is the right steps. Because I can tell you as a rebellious teenager and preteen, a lot of the issues stem from not being understood. I just want somebody to understand where I'm coming from before you tell me what I need to be doing. And I can tell you, Mr. Apostles, right? This is my 5th grade, 6th grade teacher. Those conversations, even now as a grown man, reminded me that there was moments where when I went home, I didn't feel safe, right? I can't talk to my dad about this or my mom about this. And they had me at an older age. So think about parents at 60+ years old, and you're telling them, I'm depressed, but go press some dishes, right? They're not thinking about anything that I'm communicating. This is 15, 20 years ago. So now where we have more access, I think creating that safe place for them is going to do far greater good. Continue what you're doing, intercessory, but connecting with that student to see, is there anyone else in your family that understands that situation, just so they can have a sense of relief, knowing it may not be great at home, but at least auntie or grandma, whoever has that space where I can be who I need to be and continue to grow.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This will be our last question. However, our panel will be available after we release into our breakout sessions if you all have some other questions.
Thanks so much, panel. I'm a recent citizen of Alabama from the great state of Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm here on behalf of myself. I'm a caregiver of 2 disabled adults. And I've dealt with a lot of mental issues myself. And I find that with all the programs that are going on, I get a lot of support from different therapists on the medical community, but I also get help from the religious community, my chaplains, my pastors, and other members of my church. I understand that everyone is not in religious forum, but for me, I feel that the pastors and therapists and apostles, they have gone through education and they've experienced mental health issues on themselves. And I think they're a great resource in finding ways to decrease, de-escalate circumstances in our life, just our daily life. And there are some small things that happen to you that irritate you. For me, my mother has dementia. And she could do the smallest little thing that gets through my skin. And all I have to do is think back of some of the things I read religiously, like Joyce Meyer's, any inspirational book that has to deal with any example or answer to what I'm going through to de-escalate the problem, to keep it from escalating into something more serious. So I'm trying to figure out are there any programs through the church, through any organization that enhances or are available for people, not just through the court system, but through just the community? And do you give any advisement for people to look towards your churches and your communities, get help from them? They are very helpful for me. This is just me. But for me, they're very helpful. Some of the things the scriptures that I read, oh my gosh, they are so inspirational and hit dead on point of how I'm feeling that particular day or that particular situation. So
We have NAMI, National Alliance of Mentally Ill, and that organization is for parents of loved ones that have individuals that are going through mental illness, dementia, whatever co-occurring disorders, and they are a great resource. They have groups, and it lets you know that you're not alone. And sometimes you can interact with other caregivers there that can give you some advice as it relates to how they handled a situation. So I would recommend NAMI for you. And you can see me afterwards and I'll give you that information.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'll turn it back over to Nicole.
This was awesome. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to meet you guys, the panelists, and to just be in this space, traveling from New York. And yesterday was my birthday, so this is a very special moment for me. Thank you, guys. And thank you again, Athens State University, and a special thank you to Dr. Brodin for having me here. Now it's time for a break, time to eat, get some food, refresh. Is there any?
Well, let's give another round of applause for our panelists. They have done an excellent job with answering the questions. And as a result, we know that they took the time out of their courtrooms, their offices to come and be a part of this event. So I would like to give them a token of appreciation at this time and present them with an active mind, what we call swag bag. We would first like to present Loami Richardson with his swag bag. And thank you. You don't have to take no pictures, just go have a seat.
Okay.
Next, we would like to present our moderator that flew all the way in from New York, Nicole Russell, with her swag bag. Next, we would like to present the Honorable Judge Sybil Cleveland with her swag bag. Thank you so much. This is actually Judge Cleveland's second time with us. She was our inaugural speaker for the Mental Health Summit, so we just got, she has a special place in our hearts. Yeah. And you're welcome to go back. You don't have to come back on the stage, you know. Next, we would like to present Dr. Lori Price for participating in our panel discussion. Dr. Price is new to our institution as a faculty, and I appreciate her accepting my invitation. Thank you. Last but most definitely not least is Tammy Leath. She basically reached out to one of my colleagues, Dr. Bolden, and I accepted her invitation because putting on an event like this, I need all the panelists, guest speakers, breakout sessions, vendors. So when someone emails me and show interest, I accept graciously. Thank you so much. So what will happen next is you will have a 15-minute break to go to the restroom, to visit vendors. The restrooms are located, if you go up the steps to your right, the women's restroom is located right next to the elevator. And the men's restroom, if you go down the hall slightly on the right-hand side, is the men's restroom. And then next you will be able to go at 10 o'clock. That's when the breakout session 1 will take place in the classroom building. So let me explain how to get to the classroom building. If you go out these back set of doors, you're gonna go to your right, walk down this way, you're gonna see the water fountain. So it's the second building on the left-hand side is the classroom building. So not the first building, but the second building past the water fountain is the classroom building. Do I have any questions? And feel free to help yourself to anything that's left over from breakfast. Thank you. All right.